It's been a long time.
It's been a hot second.
So, we are picking up this session at the end of 2 weeks after everyone would have accomplished all of their goals, and all of the goals that they had set out for those 2 weeks. And
Yeah, we had a lot of maintenance stuff to do essentially, and then we're 2 weeks out from the big heist, correct?
yes.
So we're gonna get two weeks to work on projects this heist, and then another 2 weeks to work on projects, and then the big one.
Yeah, and then let me see. So we have. Yeah, okay. Cool. Then I think for Neon, your 2-week period, you used the initial part of it to show identity, so it became more difficult to suss out.
Yeah.
And then you also here, let me see.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, you also spent some time training Kaneko.
Yeah.
You got a fake ID for her as well. And she had found out that through the grapevine, that there was an event going on at the Black Pyramid that Dio would be at. So you have a surefire way to run into him, or at least be in the same building as him. And the hope was to kind of sleuth your way up to him and hopefully get some information out of him, or what specifically did you want to get?
He's a means to an end, because he's been working with Diego. So my plan was to get in with his circle until I can meet up with Joseph Diego and then kick him to the curb, as it were.
Okay, so you're using this as
a stepstone.
as a
Social
stepstone.
climb?
So you don't necessarily need anything from him so much as you just need to make sure that he remembers you, in a sense.
If I can get to his computer and do a thing for Legacy, get a backdoor in for her, but
Computer to his network, so Legacy can just end him this time.
Okay. So, need some more club heavy music, and I think. Shush. Then we'll go here. Let me know if it's too loud, because it's probably going to be a little too loud.
I mean, we can just adjust our streams as we need.
Can y'all still hear me?
You're a little quiet now.
Yeah. Yeah, to what C said. Sorry.
Here, hold on. Let me do this. There we go. Always boost the Joe voice. Okay, so. We are picking up the end of the 2-week period. We can just say the evening, because it's easy enough to say that you were able to at least get entry into the Black Pyramid, the level 1 entry. And if you recall, it's inverted, so you are at the highest point, the base of the pyramid, and you know that as it gets lower, things get a little bit weirder. But we
Return of this one.
an old one. Yeah. So,
Oh man.
you, Neon, are with Kaneko. Kaneko is wearing. So the event this evening is supposedly featuring a bunch of internet celebrities, be they streamers or influencers or whatever. There's basically a gathering of internet personalities and personas. It's not as like hot sexual charged energies on the first time that had ever taken place, but it's still a club, so there's a club attire is the vibe.
Which is to say, no attire.
Very, very specific no attire, yeah. But Kaneko is wearing, I believe it's called a martini dress. I can't remember. I don't know
Yes.
women's clothing.
There are martini dresses, yes.
But
I believe the
she
term
is
is cocktail dress.
cocktail dress. Yeah.
Or
Cocktail gown?
whatever.
Cocktail dress. It's you know what I mean.
I'm surprised she's dressing that non-slutty.
It is a like cocktail dress that like has a crisp over, slips around the waist and turns into a very like tight, just above or like above the thigh kind of not skirt but like very close fitted dress end, and it's like made of a very expensive fabric that is very close to form fitting, but is not just like an elastic, like a cheap elastic. And it has a sheen, like a metallic sheen to it, where in the right light it looks like it strobes green. So it's this green, like a dark, very like very sexy, very appropriate club theme. And she has black shoes to match that are, of course, heels. And her hair, she has changed to be, rather than the typical like pink and brown combination, she has tied her hair into a single like French bun where the bun is in the back. And the pink part of her hair has been changed to like a neon green. And it's like it swirls into her hair. It almost looks like an ice cream chocolate mint kind of swirly mixture. It looks really cool, I think. But obviously, if you have an outfit you would like to describe for the club feel, you may do so.
Yeah, so Neon's wearing... I posted a picture a while back, but she's wearing a very short blue dress with like long black boots.
Mm-hmm.
And she's gotten like a light pink like paint over her arms and legs to form like cyber lines basically.
Mm-hmm.
And she has changed her hair to be completely blonde with pink highlights.
Awesome. Cool. So you are both very colorful, stand out against the backdrop of the club. And you get in, you walk up to the that front guard dude, and they're very, again, the same sort of, you don't know if it's the same exact person, but they all have a very similar look, like an ogre mock style frame around their like torso and shoulders possibly, and much like what is the gang called, the actual gang in Cyberpunk, that have like
Tiger
red,
claws?
not tiger claws, can't quite remember. It's one of the first gangs you encounter, but the guards here, they all have a shaved head, with a shaved, or maybe like a little bit of scrag
Oh, the
on the
Maelstrom.
face,
Maelstrom.
and their eyes and nose have been like carved off of their face, and in the replaced area are 5 inlaid red sensors that, kind of like an iguana's eyes. Maelstrom, it's Maelstrom. Thank you. But kind of like an iguana's eyes, they are looking in multiple directions at once. And they kind of flick from one person to the next. You would be aware that they have an inlaid scanner or an implanted scanner and database, so they know who's invited. So with not much issue, you walk up, they see you. You don't have to hold up your ID. There's not like a ticket you need. They just know. They get your fake ID, as well as Conoco's, and immediately they you walk right past them with no issue. And when you get down to the club area, you're greeted with a similar, similar to you, the player, but not to Neon. The shifting blue, purple, red club lighting and the droning club music as people wander to and fro. Immediately, you are able to suss out that the commotion is going to be possibly a few floors down. You're not sure, but it seems like because there is an event, it's possible that maneuvering between floors might be easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there will be a lot more active patrolling security. So it's kind of the idea of okay, well, you can go anywhere in the club, or it's a lot easier for you to get from one place to the next, because this is sort of the public-facing, we want everyone to think this club is still cool and on the up and up and nothing goes wrong. We're hosting big events and shit here. But they also don't want anyone to take advantage of it. So there's no private parties, at least not tonight. You can see, I don't know how familiar Neon would be with the internet high life. How familiar do you think she would be with it?
She probably learned a little bit from Too Cute, but not a terrible large amount, but enough.
Yeah. Okay.
To get her into places. Because that's
Sure.
why Too Cute would have been there, was to give her information so she can infiltrate, basically. Sort of what they did.
Okay. So you walk in. Conoco, she very lightly bumps your elbow and tilts her head towards the main bar, the centrifuge area of the bar. And you can see there are 2 people who seem to have crowds gathered around them. And this is pretty typical, especially on a night where there's supposedly a lot of influencers present. It's going to be a lot of basically quote unquote nobodies.
1 second, Joe. There's
Yeah.
a dog apocalypse. Okay, I think we're okay.
Nice. But the non-internet famous people, the non-influencers who were able to either pay their way in or know a guy who knows a guy, are going to typically flock around the recognizable influencers. And that's kind of the goal. It's basically almost a pseudo popularity contest, right? You want to have the biggest cloud or crowd of people gathered around you to show how much more social capital you're able to generate, right? So you can see that at the bar, Kaneko points out a man and a woman who are not too close together, but there's space between them, even though there's an open seat, that there's no one who has filled in that area, and there are people to their left and rights, respectively. So almost like because they must be talking to each other or something, people don't want to like cross in between them, almost like it's breaking a rule, or you can't do that in some way. But you don't recognize them on the surface, but Kaneko, she starts heading in that direction, presumably to start eavesdropping, to get an idea of what's going on, just kind of get a lay of the land. First off, what did you plan on bringing into this club? Because I imagine you would have brought probably, aside from all of your implants, you would have been able to bring the fan weapon.
Yeah.
Because that's easy enough to sneak by. But if you wanted to try to bring like your drone,
No.
it would. Okay.
Yeah. No, I can't.
But you would have. You said you wanted a
it.
shard card.
Yeah, shard card.
Gotcha. Okay. Kaneko would have one of her own too.
Yeah, I knew going into this that I'd be very light, or anything I get it's procure on site. So really, that and my cell, or my fake cell, as it were, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me go here. Need to add 1 or 2 things really quick. But yeah, what is your first plan, or what is the plan right now?
I need to get to where the club is at, where the main event is at, because that's where the mark's gonna be. And I doubt, despite it being easier, I doubt I could just walk in.
This is a reasonable assumption.
I need somebody to get me through. Yeah, I need to find somebody that's willing to bring along some arm candy downstairs, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's the 2 people at the bar. If you want to just kind of survey the area and see if you can find anybody else, you can do that.
Yeah, I will survey the area then.
Okay. So roll me just a... if you have something that's related to info gathering, you can do that. But otherwise, it would be just a straight cool check.
I don't think I do. I don't think military would work here, so just cool.
Did you intend to boost
I
it?
did not hold up.
Okay.
Just take away the 6, 4, and 5.
Gotcha. So 4 and 5 for a 9 for a 12. Yeah, that's good enough to start to hear a couple of things circulating in this room. So despite the energy being kind of mellow on this floor, this is just like a very chill part of the club. There's some rumors and stuff you can hear. First off, you start hearing a lot of names being thrown around. You hear a couple of people like, oh man, where's my sheet? You hear that Akimbo Jeff is in the building. Apparently he was invited, and everyone is always excited to see him, whether you love him or hate him. There's also a music producer, supposedly, who goes by the name Hayate Jones. Obviously, Dio is here. You've also heard that there's a couple of other like models, streamer people, like one of whom is Rude Boy Toy and the other is Beg for More. And you can also see that those are the two who are at the bar. So Rude Boy Toy is sitting at the bar to the left of BFM.
I'll go towards BFM. My cover ID is a go-to fashionista. I need to write out the backstory that I planned for my fake ID to you. Because I was gonna write it, but I didn't.
That's fine. You're like starting to walk up and approach them, and as you start walking closer and closer, you can see through the flashing lights and strobing colors that they're both dressed very appropriately. BFM is wearing something that like barely covers her chest enough to be considered clothing, but it wraps down and around her navel and then covers her waist area with like a very tiny skirt, and it is like a bright red, like glinting, scaled kind of like racerback like short dress, and she is also wearing heels that match and have like it's kind of funny because the heels are pointed, but part of them goes up and to the back in this weird like cyberpunky kind of like, I don't know how else to describe it other than the spoiler on a car, except on the back of her foot. And she has, I don't know if I've ever described her before, actually. I don't think I've ever given you a description of what BFM looks like. But she is a kind of short, like just barely 5 foot. I say that, but this is the campaign with a bunch of fucking short people. So she is slightly taller than you, but still not very tall. And she has really, really like voluminous red hair that's really curly, and despite it being as curly as it is still long enough to go down to just about like the top of her butt. Like it goes just above the top of her butt, and it's not straightened out. Her hair right now is just a big like poofed out mane of red. She has like a medium tan skin. She is of course like perfect makeup to make her skin look just incredibly smooth and flawless. She has very, very slight accents of the cyberware. So on the edges of her eyes, it is almost like cyberware mascara, where there's a like wing that comes out from the edge of her eye that has like the glint to it. And she is wearing like a combination of gold eyeshadow with like a type of colorful sparkle to it. Just so much energy and effort has gone into making her outfit work well in this strobed lighting, her outfit and her makeup, so that while she is here, no matter what lighting she appears in, there is something that stands out and is something to be admired on her. She is this is a practiced club going kind of person. And to her left is Rude Boy Toy, who also just goes by BT, or Boy Toy for short. He is a bit taller. He's about 6 foot, 5'10", 6 foot, somewhere in there. He is a lot more fair-skinned, a bit paler, with really, really close-cut, short, not bright blonde, but a very, very deep blonde color. Even though it's cut really close to the scalp. He is, yes, indoors wearing sunglasses that have a blue, a deep blue frame, and just jet black, unreflective shades, almost like they just absorb light. And he is wearing no shirt, so you can see all of the cyberware and artificial parts to his torso and part of his waist, as well as some of the tattoos and piercings he has. He is someone who likes to flaunt this sort of techno asymmetry kind of vibe, where you can see that on the left half of his torso, he has a nipple piercing and cyberware that crawls out and down from the deltoid, almost like a halo effect. And then on his or the opposite side, on the opposite side, he has a long tattoo that looks unfinished, but it might be intentional. But he has a tattoo that starts in the same area. It starts around the deltoid, and you can see that it is a cloud, and it fades into color. So it starts as just a couple, a vague outline of clouds in a traditional, Japanese art style, and then as it goes down and closer towards his midsection and his core, you can see that there is a tiger dragon. It is like a dragon, like a traditional Chinese dragon body, but it snakes its way through the clouds. And again, as it gets closer to his torso, the colors become more and more deep and vibrant, ending with a tiger's head, but also claws, like a griffin almost, except the back half is like a really long snaky snaky dragon body. It is a gaudy tattoo. Even amongst those who recognize, this is ridiculous, this is extraordinarily gaudy. That said, it is also well put together, despite only having color on what is basically 60% of it. And that tiger snakes, the tiger head ends such that its head and claws are reaching towards his navel. He is wearing disco style, wildly tight and flared out at the base bell bottoms that are green and purple, and they are not scaled but almost sequined, and they are, it's a type of thing you've seen in high-end, quote-unquote high-end fashion stores. They are they are synthetic sequins that shift. So depending on the amount of available light, the color will change. So you can see that his literal pants are shifting from like a deep sea green to like a bright like pinkish, neon pinkish color, similar to the strobe lights that are around, but it almost gets kind of like nauseating looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a bit more lankily built. BFM is a much more full-bodied woman, and he is a bit like more, not lanky, but kind of under the average. Not an incredibly like muscular person, but average. And they are, of course, flanked on the outside of both of them by hordes of people who are in like various states of drunkenness, in various types of outfits. But nobody's like touching them, almost like it's a bit surreal that they're just right there.
Are they sitting literally right next to each other, or is there like
It
a
is-
seat between them?
Yeah, there's a seat between them, and it's empty, and there's no one standing in that area. There are people standing close, but none of the people in the crowd sat or are sitting in that area. Like they are too scared or intimidated or don't want to get it in between them.
Okay. What is the name of like a high-end fashion brand?
A high-end fashion brand?
Yeah.
You could say like Gucci or Vitani or Vuitton or any traditional fashion brand that you know now would suffice.
Okay. So I pull Kanako over, I motion to them, and I tell her, I just got accepted into a big fashion brand, talk me up, and I'll just begin walking into the middle between the two and order a drink.
Oh, so you tell Kanako to like
to talk her up. Yeah.
Okay.
To talk me up, yeah.
Kanako like nods, and you go up and like walk between them, to which you can hear a couple people like, she what is, wow, that's rude. And like there's like a little bit of a murmur because you're kind of breaking some unspoken rule. You didn't interrupt a conversation.
Nope.
Just though they were looking in each other's direction. It was almost like they may have been talking, but there was a lull in the conversation, and you walked up right in the middle of that lull in the conversation to get between them and order a drink.
Mm-hmm.
The bartender, this is the same bartender, I don't know if it was the same one as last time, but this bartender has gold-colored plated skin from head to toe. You're not sure if it's like a fully like cybernetic body or if it's just a dermal implant, but it's literally like a dude who is wearing the typical bartender outfit. He has the little bow tie and a vest and like the shirt with rolled up sleeves, but his skin and hands and face are bright gold. And he will gladly just, you sit down, and with a very smooth like spin on the heel, he says, "How can I help you?"
Rum and Coke, please. Double shot of rum.
Without looking, he just reaches down and grabs two bottles, or he grabs a bottle and a glass, rather. Grabs a bottle and a glass from beneath the counter, and sets them to the side and starts very quickly working. To the side, you can see out of the corner of your eye, BFM is like, you can feel her looking you up and down. She's leaning forward a little bit, just kind of giving you a once over. And to your left, you can see Boytoy is, he might not have noticed. It's kind of hard to see where he's looking because his sunglasses are totally jet black, so you can't see where his eyes are tracking. But he's not angled towards you as if he recognizes that you're there.
Right.
And then bartender spins back around and sets the glass in front of you. And there's a brief pause. And like he records like a very quick snap of your face, and it's typical that like you would have this fast transaction, and it just goes straight to the account and ID that you would have set up here, which is, what is it, Tara St. Clair?
Yeah.
Okay, so after a second, there's a brief little like scan, and he tilts his head and just goes, "Oh, I see. You're one of those new supermodel fashionista types."
Yep, that's me. I just got accepted to work with Gucci. As a matter of fact, she holds up her drink, takes a sip.
He gets like a little bit of like raised eyebrows and a like surprise, impressed, and he reaches he holds a hand up and pantomimes the gesture of cheers and just goes, "So you're celebrating?"
Absolutely.
BFM at this point has leaned far forward, and she's kind of on her elbow, leaning on her elbow with her hand on the countertop. And there are people who are leaning over past her to look at her and her reaction to what's going on. But she's just listening for the time being. Right as you look back, and Boytoy looks to the bartender and then looks and sees you, and then tilts his head and looks behind him, looks at the crowd of people, and then he gets ready to say something when Kaneko butts in between him and you. So it's like a crowd of people. Boytoy, Kaneko shoves into the space between two seats, and then it's you and BFM, and Kaneko's like, "Oh my god, are you the St. Clair?" She has a bright green blue drink in her hand that looks like a foggy kind of energy drink, almost cocktail of some kind.
It's nice to know I have a fan already. I guess you've seen my work?
And she takes a step back and gestures to the clothing she is wearing, which you would know that Kaneko tends to buy clothing and alter it to some extent.
Yeah.
So this is a not technically commercially available item.
Yeah, I imagine I did the same thing with my own outfit.
Yeah. So she steps back and gestures up and down and does a little bit of a bend at the waist and kick her heel out pose, and she just goes, "Of course." And then you see, while looking at Kaneko, Boytoy leans over on his elbow, and he has the most "what the fuck is this" kind of look on his face. And he's about to say something, and then you can see the crowd of people, having seen the rule of like the line be crossed by someone, it's all bets are off. So now the crowds that were around Boy Toy and BFM start to collapse in on them, and you can hear just the commotion of people like oh my god, it's Boy Toy, it turns into this absolute like insane energy of just a bunch of people. Let me do one of these. And it's like, again, just not chaos, but it's like, this is what you would imagine it would be like to be mobbed as a famous person.
Mm-hmm.
The crowds start to expand a little bit, but you are huddled in, and as you are doing that, let me roll for Kaneko, because she's going to try to like slide you a little bit closer to BFM. She assumes that's who you're going for. Okay. So Kaneko, just as like the crowd starts to like collapse in, Kaneko takes 1 or 2 steps forward, and she doesn't have any compunctions about getting close to you. So she like presses her front to your side and like tries to shove you a little bit so that the crowd can squeeze in behind her and between Boy Toy. And it's like right around this time where you start to hear the "what the fuck?" and then it's like he clearly is having some type of reaction, but is subsumed in the crowd of people. And like the volume just goes way up. And you're not shouting, but it's definitely more noticeable, the like noise level.
Mm-hmm.
But you are pressed in a little bit, and there's not anyone between you and BFM. So she is like turning very gently, just like, "Hi, it's always nice to meet a fan. Yes, I know." And she gently kind of just waves them off. And she throws a glance at you, but doesn't say anything. She just gives you like a quick look up and down, and holds her hand up, and the bartender walks over. She holds out a hand, like cups her hand around her mouth, and whispers something to the bartender, who nods, and he walks over to a different part of the bar, grabs a glass and a bottle, walks back over and sets the glass down next to her, tops off her glass that was already with her, and pours another one. And you can see that she has ordered a drink for you and herself. She ordered you and herself a tequila sunrise.
I just give a big charismatic smile. Take it. Well, cheers. I'm not one to turn down generosity.
She takes it and clinks the glass, tink, and then like tilts her head, raises an eyebrow, looking past you towards where Boy Toy was, and just goes, "I should be thanking you, because you just saved me from a long conversation I did not want to have."
I just give a laugh. I wasn't trying to do anything like that. I wasn't expecting the mosh pit either.
She go ahead and roll me a deception or like deceit check of some kind.
Okay.
This could be, I think you have manipulation. You can use that here.
I absolutely do. Where is my character sheet? There's my character sheet. So +3. Action.
Okay. So she narrows her eyes. You can get the sense that she's a little dubious that you just oops, bumped in between the two of them, totally cut him off. But she doesn't really have the ability to like phrase it without it seeming just outlandishly weird.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't say anything. She just nods and shrugs. And after a pause, she looks over and says, "So you work for a fashion line?"
Yep, just got accepted a couple weeks ago. Haven't had the chance to celebrate.
And behind you, you can hear Konako like yelling at some of the people who are around Boy Toy, like, "This is fucking Saint Clair!" Like yelling over the music and the noise and the people trying to get their attention. And there's a couple people who are like, "Oh my god, really?" And there's a couple people who are like, "Who?"
And I guess I met my first fan today. Gives a chuckle.
You like BFM just smiles, and her smile is just the most like it is such a warm, practiced gesture that, or not, this is such a warm and genuine gesture that you would know that just from the nature of her work and from the nature of this environment, she fake smiles a lot.
Mhm.
Kind of part of the territory.
Mhm.
And she's very much earnestly smiling in this moment. Just like, yeah, okay, cool. You're new here. I can respect that. You know. And she kicks back her drink, takes one really good sip. But doesn't say anything else. Just nods, happy to be a part here.
I need to get a read on how to attract her attention more.
You can roll. Let me see. What could you roll?
So-
You could roll, huh?
So, I was just trying to think of what to do, because the reason I sat between them was to try and attract both of them. Because Japanese aesthetic, I'm wearing Japanese aesthetic for RBT. So I'm gonna go to cosplay angle for her, but I don't want to seem like I'm trying to get her attention is the issue here. Because ideally, she gets interested in me. Because otherwise I'm just a crazy stocky fan at that point. And that wouldn't get me through what I need.
So, if you want to try and get an idea, like you could roll social or clever to kind of suss out something she might have a vested interest in that you could attach to get her attention. Another option would be clearing the crowd away from both of them, or attempting to, because that would get you in good with both of them.
How would I clear the crowd? I guess saying, okay, give us some space isn't really an option here.
You could, and that would just turn it into a roll, but you'd be fighting a horde of people. So, a way that you could do that in theory is make something that would get their attention more than these two, these two aren't doing anything inherently interesting. They are sitting here trying to enjoy a drink, and they are getting badgered by people and questions and they don't want to have that happen. Despite the sort of implied like they enjoy attention kind of thing, this is very much like even Boy Toy's like whatever. I'll just put up with it, I guess.
Hmm.
You could try to get Konako to come up with a distraction, or have her like cause a scene, something to clear out the crowd. Another thing that I will say, the club and the people in it, the people who are rich wouldn't be moved by this, but to everyone else, money talks. So theoretically, you could pay people or like slide them cash to get them to fuck off. Literally pay them $100 so they'll fuck off.
I'm looking at the list of celebrities. So was there anybody else on this floor? Any celebrities like talking that I saw on my way over here?
There are some on this floor. You didn't see them immediately, but you heard Rude Boy Toy, BFM, Akimbo Jeff, Hayate Jones, the music producer, and of course Dio, among others. You could try to latch on to one of the other people here.
No, I was gonna say like I was thinking of distracting somebody. I'm like, hey, did somebody just slap X over there? And point.
That would be good. That would cause a lot of drama.
That's what I was thinking. I was just trying to find like a name and somebody nearby to throw the crowd at.
That would work. So go ahead and roll me a roll me clever or cool.
Cool.
And you are like basically going to be looking for someone who you could latch some sort of statement onto to get people to scatter. Okay. Re-roll the 1, because Kaneko is going to help you, so she's going to give you advantage. 3, 7, 10. Okay. Okay. So from where you're sitting, you're looking around, trying to scan through the crowd, and you see someone who outpaces both of these two in terms of actual like pull. In a totally different industry, mind you, but the person who is leaps and bounds more popular than both of them. And you are fucking floored as to why this person would be here, but everybody knows this person, and it's Dr. Pogtopus. You see him
Okay. Perfect.
literally tucked way off into the corner, and he is wearing like what appears to be like a kind of jumpsuit with shades on, and his hair is pulled back into a bun. Dr. Pog is a heavy-set Irish guy who has like medium-length blonde hair and like kind of a scraggly beard. He's ostensibly like PewDiePie level popular. So you're looking at two Instagram hot
Cringe.
people and then just an incredibly insane popular icon in like not like popular with that crowd, but someone who is as well known as that.
Okay.
And this is an internet influencer gathering, so it does track that he would be here, but he is very much kept himself out of a brighter light so that he can kind of sleuth off to the side.
Okay. So I imagine like right now the crowd has me and BFM squished together, and she's like, "Okay, hold up a second, I can fix this." Looks around, clears my throat. Holy shit! Somebody just slapped Dr. Octopus.
Okay, roll a manipulation. And we'll see we'll see how this works, because you're getting a pretty sizable chunk. Okay, so you point out Dr. Pog, to which like a handful of people are like, okay, they know the name, so they're like, who? Dr. Pog? And then there's like somebody just said the name that they recognize, and then there's one or two people who are like, what? And then they start looking. I assume you point at him?
Yeah. And I said somebody slapped.
The bartender, like, he turns and looks in that direction. And, like, his eyebrows go up again. He just goes, no shit. And you can see Dr. Pog is sitting there, like, in the moment, or at the moment, he is sitting next to one or two other people. One who's a little bit closer than the other, but he's adjusting his shades, and then there is a brief moment where his eyes must connect with you. His head turns towards you, and there is a recognition of like, there's not many people who just point at someone without any sort of cause. And he like looks left and right, and then starts to get up and slide into a different part, and then a bunch of people, having seen him try to seclude himself and like sneak away, they're like, oh shit, he's here, what is that? And they just start getting up. You hear like all of the chairs start like spinning as people like scatter, and people who were sitting down hear this commotion and start to move in that direction, because this, like, way famous. This is somebody who could have gone from basically internet star to Hollywood star.
This poor man.
And he is, yeah, like, of all the places to be, he's like, well, I guess I'll come to this big event. It makes sense. And, on how unfortunate it might be.
Regretting his career choices.
This poor man.
He is immediately like heading towards a door that is just walled off by a group of men and women who are like floundering for questions and surrounding him, and literally just he is encircled by people. And even the bartender moves to the opposite end of the bar to go see what's like Dr. Pog, because he's like, holy shit, I love this guy. And you are literally just, Kaneko takes a few steps back, and in an attempt to seem less suspicious, will hustle with the rest of the crowd.
Yeah.
As she's going, she like runs over and just goes, holy shit, it's Dr. Pog! And she's like jumping, getting her like shoes off so she can run over there. And it's just you, Boy Toy, and BFM. And now Boy Toy's anger is directed at that crowd. Just immediately like, what the fuck is this?
I just begin to laugh as I finish my shot of tequila sunrise. Consider that my apology for causing the crowd to come on us.
BFM, like, just, she kind of covers her mouth and giggles, so just, well, that is certainly one way to handle the crowd.
Well, if you don't want attention, just push them on somebody else.
Boy Toy looks back to you, pulls down his glasses a little bit, and looks over the top of his shades, and just goes, okay, and you're supposed to be some kind of fucking fashion person or whatever?
That's right.
Uh-huh. Okay. So, like, what's your fashion line?
Well, I'm working with Gucci now. I just signed a deal to import some, and she points to her clothing and like check this out of pseudo Japanese style threads, hoping to mix up the market a little bit.
He immediately just does not look impressed in any way. Very much is just like reaches over, takes a drink. He is drinking an appletini. And BFM looks over and like she is eyeing your dress now and just goes, damn, that is a fine piece of cloth right there. And she doesn't reach out to touch it, like it kind of feigns reaching out.
I
like,
hold
does
my arm
the
out.
sort of like
Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Real silk.
She will like trace one little, like reach up and trace a finger on it and then pinch it between her thumb and forefinger and feel it and just be like, whew. Ooh, this is expensive, isn't it?
Oh yes. Like I said, real silk. Hard to come by these days.
And then you feel like the pull, like a slight tug of fabric on the opposite side of you as Boy Toy reaches up and then grabs a pinch and he's just like silently examining it for himself to determine the value of this clothing. He's like, again, continuing to feign his unimpressedness.
But failing miserably.
If you aren't impressing him, you're certainly making him annoyed, which is not
Almost as good.
it's not that different. He's still getting, you're still egging him on and getting a reaction out of him. But both of these two are now like at least engaged with you. And more so than they were engaged with each other. And you can hear the crowd like growing further and further distant as you can hear Dr. Pug, Dr. Pug, Dr. Pug fading into a corner of the like another sidebar effectively. There's multiple areas that you can slide up to get drinks. But as they like shift over in a different direction, the bartender walks back around and just puts hands in his pockets, just shrugs, just goes, well, that was fun while it lasted.
Missed the crowd already? You seem to not enjoy it.
He shrugs and then gestures like an open hand to the three of you and just goes, well, I've got three lovely customers and beautiful people right here. I don't need the crowd. I just, well, I mean, I'm a big fan. Does like a hooks a thumb over his shoulder.
She draws a line between the three of them. Let's go for 3 ghost shots, yeah.
He like at the mention of him being a fan of Dr. Pog, Rude Boy like rolls his eyes, just goes, fucking children, and then like kind of pouts, and BFM leans on the counter and just goes, he is actually a very sweet man. And you order drinks, and the bartender immediately like spins on his heel, grabs a couple of bottles and glasses, slides the fresh glasses onto the counter, and then takes the used ones up. Pours you 3 drinks, and like there you have it. You have 3 little what did you order? A ghost cocktail?
Yeah, blue ghost.
A blue ghost? Okay. Cool. So he sets them down before you, and like BFM, she reaches over and grabs it and is like looking at it, admiring how well it's put together. Like this bartender's he's a good, like talented like drink mixer. Like the dude knows what he's doing. And he like takes a step back, admires his own handiwork, and then starts to look around the bar, and he just goes, well, much it. You three are the only ones I have for the evening, at least until more of this party comes back up from the lower areas.
Right, I heard about that. Some big internet thing going on.
Like, this boy toy, like, puts a hand on the counter and just goes, "You don't even know why the fuck you're here?
I
Oh
just
my
came
God.
to celebrate. Why don't you enlighten me then?
This whole event is sponsored entirely by Tetsuo. This whole thing is for us," and he gestures to himself and BFM, "for people like us who work in the entertainment industry. There's like a big fucking merger or whatever, and this is like to kick it off." And
Well, I
BFM
just got into the industry. Can't blame a girl for not knowing everything. And besides, I ordered you a drink, and I hold out the shot to him.
he takes it and like kind of swirls it a little bit and then kicks it back. You can hear BFM behind you, and she says, "Yeah, I don't know why I came. I was kind of hoping to bump into some people I knew, but..." And she shrugs and kind of looks over at Boy Toy with the implication of like,
Except you.
yeah. And she, like, Boy Toy doesn't quite pick up on it, but from the side he just goes, "Fuck you, I'm so much fun."
Wouldn't your friends be down in the lower levels?
He looks, he kind of like avoids looking at you for a second, like looks back towards the bartender and looks at you and kind of drums his hands on the bar and says, "Well, some of them are. But, I mean..."
Can I tell if he's afraid to go down there?
Sure. Roll a
Seems
cool
afraid.
check.
Yeah. Ugh, I'm not really good today.
That's okay. He's not a very deceptive person. He seems, you're not sure if he's like deathly scared, shaking in his boots, but there's something that makes him uncomfortable about the lower levels. So he is staying up here. Drugs just goes, "All there is down there is it's just fucking dark and dank and full of drugs. If you want to do drugs, you can just do drugs up here. Like, why go 6 floors down to do drugs in a fucking ruddy closet?"
I don't disagree with you, but I think it's more the exclusivity that they're after. You know how many people
Okay,
say
so-
they go down there?
He shrugs and just goes, "Okay, cool. So a bunch of rich dipshits go down there and get high together in their really fancy closet." And again, like, kind of trying to throw suspicion off of him in that way. BFM, like, she's looking at the empty glass now and kind of spinning her finger in it. And just goes, "I've never even been down to the lower levels. I've been curious, but just never wanted to go alone. I've heard very sketchy stories."
Well, I'm sure a fast friend like myself would be willing to escort you. Another drink?
She roll a cool check to persuade her. You can add your manipulation to this.
And I wanted to ask, my kimono gives me a +1 as an asset, right?
Yes. I can't remember what the wording on the kimono is, but I believe it does for the purposes of social interaction. Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. So she looks at you with this coy sort of like, and then looks at the drink, swishes, like swirls it a little bit, and just goes, "You seem like the type to want to get a very vulnerable, very attractive and available woman drunk. And she's very clearly being sarcastic and like takes the drink, like just takes one last little sip of it and sets it down and points a finger at you in this coy way, and she just goes, "But I am on to you, so I'm going to stay sober and be the responsible one."
Oh, sweetie, if I was coming on to you that much, I wouldn't need to get you drunk.
You hear from like the counter as Boy Toy just assumedly gets up to go with you. He mumbles something under his breath. You can roll to hear it.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, roll cool.
Okay. Not rolling well today.
The only thing you can really hear is "Fuck, come on," like something. He clearly had some snide remark about your comeback, but he gets up. Like there's a little. It's hard to tell in the lighting because it's so dark and strobe lighty, but you can see they've both got like a little tint of buzz to them. And they've sort of attached themselves to your side. Boy Toy looks like does like a sideways glance at the two of you, and he tries to play aloof, but BFM calls him out on it and just goes, "And what do you think you're doing? Are you planning on coming with us, or staying here by your miserable lonesome self?" And he like spits back just like, "Well, obviously I'm coming with you. It was basically my idea. I know the people who are down there."
Okay. I lean into BFM. I think he just wants to prove that he can do it.
She snorts. Like very audibly, like and he like whether or not he hears it is unclear, but there is a palpable embarrassment from his reaction. And he like throws his hands up in like a what? And then BFM just shrugs and just goes, "Okay, if he is invited, I guess we'll go find your friends who are in the lower levels." He like puts his hands in his pockets are not deep. They're very much they're designed very much like women's pants, but the pockets are very, very shallow. So he hooks just the tips of his thumbs into his pants pockets and like walks in this kind of very exaggerated swagger way. But they're walking with you, just casual chit chat.
Yeah, I'll follow them. Like I'm sure glad that we have a big, brave man like yourself to protect us. She just gives a smile.
As you're walking with him, like you learn a couple of interesting facts about the three of them. Like Boy Toy, he is playing up a character for the most part. That is like his public persona, and he is considered in public.
Yeah.
He doesn't outright tell you that, but you get the impression like that's his brand is like being a snarky shit.
Yeah.
You also learn that he is currently in pursuit of a music career. He wants to move into the rap scene, as any like scrawny white guy would. BFM, you find out that she recorded a single, and it was okay. She's not a very talented, practiced singer, but she has very blatantly said, like, I just like the aesthetic of it. I think it is empowering and cool. I want to be able to dress up and have everyone look at me and actually perform and do something other than just... And she gestures to herself. And just shrugs.
Girl, you got the ability to do that.
She like does like the pshaw, like, and like you can hear Boy Toy just like, you can't just pay ghostwriters or whatever and musical effects artists to cover up your voice. You actually have to be good at it. And it's just more of this banter back and forth as they go with you. And as you make your way towards the elevator area, or like where the wall, the elevator, like it opens up from the wall, there is actually by that elevator door one of the security guards, and typically they're not posted like this. Typically there's one or two who kind of meander about the room, but this guy is very much standing at attention, and he doesn't address you, doesn't look at you. He's just standing there. Elevator opens up. You can see 2 or 3 of the little like optical sensors track you and presumably your two, the two in your cohort. And once you all pile in the elevator and the door closes, you start to feel it descend. It descends only 1 level at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But once you go in, you actually can see that you're free to go down all the way to level 6. And there are 7 levels.
Oh, damn. So we in deep.
Yes. So it goes down to the 2nd floor, which I believe is the lust floor. And this opens up from the previous time that we had come here. It was like a series of silent hallways with rooms that were intended for privacy. But when you come down here now, all the rooms and walls they're not like down, but the walls are like a glass, right? It is like a crystallized glass that allows you to shade it and unshade it. And most of the walls are unshaded or detinted. You can tell it's a wall. It's not like invisible, but you can see through it. And the door opens and it is immediately more of what you would have expected earlier. This is horny floor. Mm-hmm. This is basically just a group excuse to bang someone you don't know. And it has turned from a private sort of silent exchange into a more open, free exchange. Think nudist beach.
Mm-hmm.
But hornier.
It's a terrorist floor, I understand.
But that opens up, and both, like, neither of the two with you are fazed by it. They both work in the industry, so they're just like, ugh. And they look at you like, we're skipping this floor.
Either way.
And, yeah, they hit the next floor down.
Yeah.
Which, let me go. I believe this one was Gluttony. Let's see.
Yeah, Gluttony was the one where we met Joseph Diego the first time.
Yes. So you go down to the 3rd floor, and when the door opens, before this room appeared as a foggy kind of like lounge, single room lounge that has a fuck off. A single room lounge with mirror walls that kind of give the ambience of a like endless void. But in the new setup, this has turned into like a just gourmet full service lounge bar. It is more stocked than the first floor with types of liquor. There are like copious amounts of different types of bottles and foods and everything. There's not a lot of people here, but there's certainly more here than there were on the first floor. And now it's starting to kind of make sense. The floors are redesigned so that more and more people, or not more and more, but like the floors have been like redesigned to seem more open and welcoming, so that it has this kind of innocent impression. Despite it being a club, it is like just a place where you come and party, and you know, nothing interesting happens here. It's just a whole hedonistic mess. But there are people who are still openly doing drugs in this like not low lit area, but much more like evenly lit than the top floor. It is low cushioned seating very close to the floor with coffee tables, or rather drink tables, that are all wound and woven in such a way that it's like easy to move and socialize with however many people you're around. And drinks are just grab as you like. But as the door opens, you can see right where you would expect there is a guard posted in a very similar spot to the first floor. And the other two look at you and are just like, BFM.
You two.
BFM looks to Boy Toy and says, "Where did you say your friends are again? You said they just went to a deep level." And Boy Toy just goes, "I don't fucking know. I assume they went to like 1 or 2, or 2 or 3. Because that's where most people go. I don't even know what's on like some of these other ones." And he hits the button to go down to the next floor. Which the next floor opens up and you see an elaborate, expansive casino. And it is this like rows and rows and rows of like gambling machines and slot machines. There's roulette tables, like back-to-back poker tables and blackjack tables. There's also a good crowd of people here. You can hear the clatter of plastic chips, or not plastic, ceramic. You can hear the clatter of ceramic chips being like tossed and dropped and placed and shuffled and moved. You hear a couple like distant people who are like tense, some of whom won an amount of money and some of whom lost. The lighting here has a thin, smoky veneer to it. You can see there's a lot of people who either have a cigarette or a cigar or a pipe of some kind. The room is also, in contrast to the other areas of the club, rather than having neon lighting, it is a lot of like that bright, like fluorescent yellow, blue and red lighting. It doesn't have the dull hum and glow of neon so much as it has this just almost like nauseating bright and flashy just overstimulating your eyes kind of sensation. They both look like out from the elevator, and there's another guard. This time, he is stood off a bit more to the side to see like further into the room rather than just the elevator. From his vantage point, you would assume that he's looking for people who are cheating. And they both look at each other, and you honestly, you can go ahead and roll me cool if you want to kind of get an idea of what they're feeling, but they have a weird kind of look on their face. Yeah, so like BFM is kind of like, that's all this place is. It looks just like a super mall or a big mall, like LA kind of building. It seems kind of commercial. And Boy Toy just is, you get the impression that he's suddenly less like impressed or worried. Yeah, like this has lost a lot of the punch that it had in terms of rumors. But I mean, there's almost a disappointment to it. Like, wow, this is it. It's just a like oversaturated commercial area. And then they both look at you and they're like, ugh. I'll be honest, I don't know where the fuck my friends are. I don't even know if they're still here. But I'm really just curious about any points to the 7th floor. Even though there is not a button for it.
Fire it up.
Well, I don't know how we get there. And he hits the next floor button to go to, what is this? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be 5, 6, 7. Okay. So the door closes, and even before the doors open, you hear what sounds like cheering and jeering of like similar to the upper level that you were just at. The door opens, and this area is probably the most starkly different from all the prior ones, where the previous ones had cushioned seating and chairs, a lot of light so that you could partake of the vice of your choice. There was a decent number of people at each level who were playing, some winning and some losing. But this door opens and you are greeted with a similar smoky atmosphere to the floor you were just on, the greed floor. This one has that same haze, but there is a palpable saltiness and sweat to it. There's an iron-ish smell. You can hear what sounds like the thudding and crunching of something in multiple areas. There are crowds of people who are cheering and rooting, almost like they're watching a sport.
Yeah, that's where I was coming. Must be one of those underground fight rings I hear so much about.
Rude Boy looks at you and just goes, how much do you hear about them? I mean, like, I know about them from movies and stuff, but...
It's one of those things that are rumored not to exist, but I've heard that in some places, the rich just holds an arm out. They like to see people go at it.
BFM, with one hand on her elbow and the other, like, kind of poking at her chin, says, I don't know if this is true, but I heard a rumor that something about this place was, like, legally sovereign in its own way, or I don't know what that means, but you know, it allows them to get away with more risky shit than they would otherwise be able to.
Well, my dad was always a big law guy. I believe that means that this place is considered its own country.
She shrugs. He just goes, yeah, it's just a rumor, so I don't have a way to verify it, but she nods her head towards the violent acts going on in front of you. Just goes, it seems like there's some shit going on here. Not like the station security would shut it down. This place makes too much money, and she rubs her fingers together.
Oh, that is what it is at the end of the day, huh?
She shrugs and just goes, well, now what? And Rude Boy looks at the 6th floor and just shrugs and goes, I don't know what to expect at this point, but if it's anything like the previous ones, and he hits the button, it'll probably be a letdown, and the doors close.
I looked to BFM. I'm like, I meant what I said earlier. You know, I think you really could perform.
She looks at you and smiles kind of to herself and just nods and says, maybe. I'm not a very confident singer. I like to sing, but it is a hobby and not a career. She
Not to say
shrugs.
I'm a mega fan, but I have seen what you can do with the cosplay outfit. One of the reasons I got into modeling.
There's a bit of a shrug of like, I know. Like half of a brag, but also roll me another cool check. See if you can suss out the hidden meaning here, because yeah, so you can see that part of her is like flattered, like, oh, you know, it's nice to meet a fan, and then another part of her is like, well, I mean, I've heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to come off as sincere, like, hey, I'm a model. I know modeling. And if you project half of what you project on your cosplay onto your performance, you're gonna do it. You're gonna hit it big.
She considers your words. She is twirling a bit of like a lock of her hair in her finger, just kind of thinking about something. And Boy Toy you can see he's watching this conversation out of the corner of his eye, but he doesn't interrupt or intervene in any way. BFM opens their mouth to say something, and then the door opens up. And this area looks strikingly similar to the original floor that you were on, but there's something a bit more like a bit heavier to the atmosphere. There's the music has a very, very low, soft, like, let me see. I want something like it is a lounge area with maybe 12 or 13 people. Like, you can count the number of people in here, and it's much more calm. There's no shouting or like yelling or whatever. There's no haze of smoke. There's no one. First off, there's no fighting. There's no nudity. There's no anything. it just seems like almost uneventful.
Mhm.
And it opens up and you can see that there's a handful of people here who look up and they're all wearing semi-different, like a sort of different type of attire. This is more like not I'm going to a club and more of like a mix of it almost looks like security guards. There's a mix of people in different types of suits, and a mix of people and a mix of women in different types of gowns. But this is not the level that you would think is a club.
Mhm.
The area that you can see is a lot of black leather furniture with almost perfectly transparent glass, like tables and sidebars. You can see there's not a bartender here, but unmarked bottles and glasses that seem to be just scattered throughout and different tables that are open to whomever wants some. And as you start to look around, you can also see that there are 4 guards. There are 2 on either side of the door and 2 on either side of the opposite parts of the room, mirroring their position. And the BFM looks up and Boy Toy looks up, and they're both like, they look at the button. Is this the right floor? I don't think this is the right floor.
I feel like if your friends are anywhere, they would be here, actually. Call it a gut feeling.
Boy Toy's like looking around, just goes, fuck if I know where they are. I don't see them.
I looked at him like, are you feeling a little better now?
There's a part of him that seems to be anxious again. Given how it was like almost expected that the environment would be like more and more kind of raunchy and hedonistic going down in just different flavors, getting to one that has almost like an air of propriety seems unsettling. And he doesn't say anything in response to you.
Mm-hmm.
But as you are standing there, one of the guards holds their hand out, like in your field of view, in front of the door, and gestures like for you to come out.
I'll walk
the
out with
implication
everybody.
being, yeah, it's like either get out of the elevator or go to a different floor.
Mm.
All 3 of you walk out, and BFM is immediately uncomfortable. As is, or not BFM. Rude Boy is immediately uncomfortable. BFM is like scanning the room, like not sure what's going on. And she whispers like, I'm trying to figure out what people are doing here, but I just see a bunch of stiffs in suits drinking liquor.
That makes it all the more likely they're up to something, yeah?
And she nods slowly.
Morale boost. I'm going to quickly give Boy Toy just a massage on the shoulder with one hand, like breathe in and out.
He'll like, there's a slight like jump as you kind of reach up to his shoulder, and he turns around and just goes, I'm fine, okay? Like, what do you expect is gonna happen? Off to the side, you can see someone that you don't immediately recognize, but BFM does recognize and says, "Oh, that's Hayate, the music producer," and just gestures to a dude who is wearing a like cherry red suit and a black undershirt. He has hair slicked back with like a black hair, like very trimmed goatee. He looks he has the cut of someone who would be a music producer. And he looks over, his eyes are like piercingly blue. Just smiles and nods, turns back to his conversation. Like, obviously a fan of being recognized, but doesn't immediately come over.
Well, and I'll turn to what I expect is I hope you two can get your break here all of a sudden. Let's get you two some courage, yeah?
They both look at each other, and Rude Boy shrugs and walks forward. He walks over to one section of the room and starts pouring himself what appears to be just a tall brandy. And BFM looks at you and says like, "Well, I don't know how you want to do this, but I want to go try my luck with him." And she looks over at Hayate, the music producer.
Yeah, I want you both to do that. Give them a minute. The last thing that you two want to appear is Omega fans. Make him interested in you.
She, like, in almost in a twist of, in an ironic twist, she's like, I'm getting advice on how to not be obsessed with someone like a fan when that's something that I kind of wrote off about you.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't say that with words. She just kind of has that recognition and
Yeah.
nods and says, "Well, good luck with whatever you're doing." And she slides over towards Hayate Jones. And he's talking to like 2 additional people. And I think right here is a good place for a break.
Agreed. Yeah.
So
I was gonna send Boy Toy over there too. Like, okay, shoot your shot, man. Good luck on your rapping career. I'm in your corner. Thumbs up.
Can I get a spelling?
Oh,
Hayate Jones.
Yeah.
Hayate. Jones.
Alright. Jones. Jones the normal way, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Jones normal way. JOHU.
Jones with a K.
The P is silent.
GNEZS.
Hi.
Also, hi, Amy.
Hi, I'm here. I snuck in when the lecture already started.
I didn't even hear you enter the call.
I was just suddenly here.
You were
was a
describing BFM at the point. At
Yeah.
that point.
I was
Oh,
like,
wow, so you got
he's
here
describing. I got here at like 7:40.
Well, yeah, before like anything really happened, so it's fine.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know what they're doing. I hear some really sick threads being described. So, and I'm like, okay, who the fuck are these people? And I was like, I hope that they say their names again. Yep, they do. Great. I'm missing a lot of notes. I'm sorry about that. I missed a bunch of floors.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
This was just Joe's opportunity to go ahead and explain all the floors because we're probably not going to come back here again. It's like, throw out all the lore that I have for this place.
So, what is the 5th floor? I know the first is regular club, 2nd level is the horny floor, 3rd floor is gluttony, 4th is a casino. What was the 5th one?
Fight Club.
Fight Club, okay.
Yeah, that is, violence.
Thank you.
Fight Club.
Gotcha.
Which I'm assuming is Wrath.
Mm-hmm.
What is the...
So it's Lust, Gluttony, Greed, Wrath.
Thank you. Is this one
Any
sloth?
guesses as to what this one is?
Is this
Pride.
sloth? Pride?
There's 3 left. Sloth, Pride, and Envy.
It's a Fight Club. Cool.
Honestly,
it is a Fight Club.
See, what gets me is like the gluttony floor sounds like gluttony this time, but last time I would have put it as like a sloth floor instead because you're all getting like drugged up so much that you're just like sitting there vibing and chilling and not doing anything, which is sloth.
Mm-hmm. It was gluttony because there was like it was grab whatever you wanted and just have at it. Or there were people just grabbing every possible substance and food and scrap they could get because they were allowed to have whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But
So are you missing one of the 7 sins then?
so
Secret basement level.
So technically the first one, like the base level before Lust, would be probably Sloth.
Gotcha. So Pride and Envy
Mm-hmm.
is this one, and then the other one is the secret we don't know how to get to floor.
Oh, never mind.
What?
What?
I read a stat block wrong for a second. I thought this homebrew CR2 creature did 76 damage. No, it's 7 parentheses 2d6.
Ha!
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm an idiot for not understanding that meme. Okay, I'm an idiot. Cool.
You okay?
The leather AC versus plate. I took it as plate. I'm like, a plate has 18 AC? Wow.
Oh,
Plate male. Which makes more sense. I'm like, why would a plate have 18 AC?
need to get studded leather armor.
Where did this picture go? I need this fucking picture.
Which reminds me, Joe, your character scares me with its AC.
Oh, dude, I am hoping that Arwen doesn't read fucking anything on my sheet, so like they throw out some. It's like, you get sneak attacked. Is like, could they sneak up on me? Because one, I can't be surprised, and also because I have alert. I also have a passive perception of 24 and blind sight out to 10 feet.
Oh my
Where the fuck
gosh.
are they? Where are they, Arwen?
Yeah, hopefully Arwen's just like, oh, you're just playing like a standard fighter. You're not one of like the custom subclasses. I don't have to worry about you.
I love the question mark, Piper. Did I save this already?
Okay. Let me know when y'all...
I'm here.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay. So, you are in this room full of people who are dressed to the nines. What they're wearing could be worn at a club, but this is like barely there. This is not the type of attire you wear out onto the dance floor, at the very least. But nonetheless, you see a very, like, a smattering of people. All of them kind of sequestered in their own little groups, having whatever private conversations they are having. Who do you want to schmooze with? Are you going to try to like survey the room or float around near?
Float around.
Float around. Okay. So, with Hayate, because I imagine you're floating around BFM.
Mm-hmm.
And Rude Boy. They both interject themselves into the conversation, but not just without cause. They both approach. BFM approaches first, and Boy Toy stands off behind them, or behind her. You hear very soft conversation. You can't hear what she says, but she clearly introduces herself, and then introduces Rude Boy, and then turns and gestures towards you, introducing you. And Black Hayate or not Black Hayate, Hayate Jones. Black Hayate is the dog from Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yes, good boy.
Hayate Jones nods. He seems kind of passively interested. And nods for you all to come over. You can see that he has an implant square in the middle of his throat, like right about the spot where an Adam's apple would be. And it is like a little metal, almost like a stud or bead that is hemmed into his throat. It is about the size of a quarter, and has a little like black mesh filter over top of it. And as you walk up, you hear from a very scratchy robotic speaker. He doesn't open his mouth to speak. He just gestures to you and greets you like with a head nod, and you hear, "Hello."
Hello.
Like Jones and the other people he is standing around, he explains like that he has come here to kind of do what you would expect, kind of scout out internet talent. But this was his first stop, was specifically this floor. This is... there's kind of a dodginess to it, but he says that, like, this floor is specifically for, and it kind of tilts his head back and forth, special non-influencer related guests.
Well, if you're looking for 2 internet people, I got 2 right here.
He nods and says, "Are you looking for an ear or foot into the talent industry?"
Oh, I don't need a wedge into anything. But I know these 2, and I put my arms around both of them. These
They
2 have been
are-
excited for it for a while now.
They both kind of BFM awkwardly waves. Boy Toys just like kind of crosses his arms, just only vaguely interested. But yes, sir. The point is that we have, well, our own desire to like make our mark on things on the station, bring the music scene here, establish it ourselves, and go ahead, roll me cool, and you can add your manipulation bonus to this.
Okay. Kimono.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I have my freaking weasel that gives me advantage on social situations. I forgot I had that. Yeah, I have a ferrito. Is that okay too? That gives me advantage on social situations.
I will say so.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So it's hard to read someone who is only emoting with their eyes for the most part. You can't read on Jones's voice, but he seems to be like at least listening to the pitch of these 2. It's very much turned away from the social matter and more of like, okay, can these 2 make money? And that is the motive. From where you're standing, though, you can hear an exchange of like just people like talking about the event and the nature of the event itself, like dealing with all of the coordinating for all of these different influencers, talking to all of their agents, on top of just the merger and other parts of this is just a pain. And from where you're at, there is a lounging chair area that's maybe like 20 feet away, and you see this man sitting there.
Okay.
And you're no, there weren't pictures. So you don't know this person on first blush, but he leans back, picks up a gold-plated lighter, and lights the end of a small cigarette, and says, "I don't understand why we had to do this when we could have just had the merger and moved things along quietly, let alone why I'm here. This isn't even my expertise." He drums his fingers on the table. You can see he's talking to what appear to be 2 other people in different colored suits. One in like a tanned type like suit similar to what he's wearing, and another in a bright blue, kind of almost like game show host suit. He leans back and you can see there's a little, like, not quite like a name tag, but there is a badge on that is tucked into his shirt pocket. And just like having never even seen one of these before, you feel like that is probably some type of access badge. Because he's not showing it around, it's not an ID, but it's very clearly used to get somewhere, and it might be used to get to the 7th floor.
Sounds like you're telling me to either get with this man or steal from this man.
It's possible. There are other people you could eavesdrop on. This man just is close to Jones.
Yeah. And so I give both BFM and RBT a pat on the shoulder. Don't forget me when you two become music stars, okay? And I'll nod to Hayate and just back up a little bit. Enjoy your business.
You start to drift away from them. And Jones, there's almost like a side-eyeing as you walk away, and his eyes immediately dart back to the two potential employees he might be able to make. Or rather, entertainers. But you like slide over, I assume, towards this guy. Are you just going to approach him?
I'm just gonna sit down next to him with a bottle of liquor.
Okay. Well, you sit down right beside him and across from the two other gents in their own suits. And this dude, you can see he is missing an arm.
Mm-hmm.
And does not have a cyber prosthesis. Which, for people in this day and age. But he, like, despite that, he obviously has an appearance of someone who is wealthy. But as you sit down, he says with, like, the cigarette hanging off of his lip, you are who?
Someone who noticed that you could use a drink.
Roll a cool check, and you can add your manipulation to this.
Oh, let's go. I didn't mean to roll advantage for. Wait, no, I didn't roll. I turned it off. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's the interface. The interface is balls. But I will still take the 5 and the 5 because those are the two most leftmost. So it's still 10 and 3, 13, 16, 7. Oh, it'd still be 17. So he doesn't say no. He just looks you up and down, and then his eyes look over to the two on the opposite side of him. And he doesn't say anything, but he looks back to you. And like he leans forward and puts his elbow on his knee and says again through the cigarette on the corner of his lip, "Sure. And who might you be?"
Well, my name's Sarah St. Clair, if you wanted me to introduce myself.
He moves his jaw a little bit and reaches up and takes the cigarette out and just, "Tara St. Clair, I have not heard of you."
I'm new on the scene. Just got in a couple of weeks ago. I'm also the Courage Fairy, apparently. Nodding to the two of them.
His
When these here
eyes
getting
very
business
quickly,
without me.
his eyes quickly like dart over to the two you BFM and Rude Boy and dart back to you. he has a very cold stare. He looks over to the two men across the table. They are... roll me a cool check. Just a flat cool check. Yeah. So, looking at the situation, this dude holds the cards. The two other men sitting across from you and him, they are in some position of social or political weakness because they are, like, deferring to this guy entirely. Like, whatever he says, and, like, his words take priority over ours, so they're not going to talk. They are just watching this exchange because they're like, I don't know what to do, but I'm not going to be the one to interrupt him when he's talking to someone. You talk when spoken to by this man. And the dude sitting beside you, he is very much... He has a very tired kind of like a recently exhausted kind of energy about him. There's a lot of like frustration, fresh frustration on him, hence the smoke, and why you get the vibe that he looks like he needs a drink, because you're right. But he reaches over and takes the drink and slides it closer to himself. Doesn't take a sip from it, but just looks at it and then looks back up to you. You can see him moving his eyes up and down, and you're not sure if it's him assessing you or trying to measure up your your social status, or if he's trying to intimidate you, but his eyes move from your feet to the top of your head and then back to meet your gaze.
Yeah, glad I wore something that could be considered formal attire.
He looks at the other two, and both of them for a second, like, they don't say anything, and he just nods his head, and they both get up and scram. And without looking at you, he takes the smoke out of his mouth and pinches it between his middle and index finger, and then grabs the glass and says, I hate politicians. And he'll take a very gentle sip of the brandy.
Ah, that's why you needed the drink. I could tell. Couldn't figure out the why, though.
You can see him flex his jaw a little bit. That's one reason. And he looks to you in the corner, out of the corner of his eye, and says, and you are recently famous. I don't believe I'm familiar with your name. Who was your agent? Like,
What's
his
Kaneko's
eyes.
name?
Kaneko's name? It could be whatever the fuck you want.
Or rather, since I took some time establishing this ID, would I know the name of an agent? No, that's a good idea. That's a bad idea, though.
You could use the name of an agent who is already out there, or you could... I'll say that you could have established a name for Kaneko as an agent.
As an agent, yeah. I'll give her name.
Yeah. So yeah, you give whatever Kaneko's fake name is, and his he just continues scanning your face with it, like, not actually scanning. So far, you've actually not seen any hint of augment on this man.
Mm-hmm.
He seems pretty flesh and blood. And like looks at you and says, interesting. He sets the glass down and puts the cigarette back in the corner of his mouth. And he'll straighten his back a little bit, sit up, and then turn partially towards you and reach his hand across his chest and extend it for a greeting.
Shake his hand.
And he'll nod and say, Krishnov.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Mr. Krishnov.
He nods.
We found the person we robbed from. Let's go.
He continues with this like cold, like kind of off demeanor. His eyes, he looks up for a second and kind of looks across the room, and you get the sense that he's looking for someone, but before he says anything, his eyes turn back to you and he says, so you're new on the scene. For what, may I ask? What do you do?
Well, I just sold a line of fashion products to Gucci, and I do some modeling too. Though I'm trying to get my own name out there for that. I don't want to be under some... She just waves her hand. Other name for that.
He is... Roll me a manipulation check.
Absolutely.
You can add the kimono, but not the ferret to it, because he is unimpressed by the ferret.
Yeah, I figured.
Whew. Whew. Like, roll me one more manipulation check. This is for something different. Okay, so you say that, and you can see this dude, he getting an idea, or now getting the idea of recognizing who he is, looking up and down. This dude is a professional liar.
Yeah.
And he is looking at you with incredible suspicion. He might not be able to prove it, but this whole interaction has now become him, like, almost in a sense trying to corner you in a lie. But it's just dead silent looking at you, and like letting the cigarette slowly ashen up to the end. And he reaches down, picks up the glass, and plucks the cigarette, takes a sip, replaces the cigarette, and then sets the glass back down. All just very, very drawn out, slow movements. And he says, your name was St. Clair, fashionista. Okay. Do you know how many people were invited here? St. Clair?
Can't say I am.
He takes the cigarette out of his mouth, and he's holding the cigarette by the filter, twirling it. They're not twirling it, but like rotating it gently, like examining the tower of ash. And he's like just very, very much letting the silence hang, and says, so I was actually one of the people involved with corralling all of these fucking people. And he doesn't gesture in any physical way, but you get the sense he's not talking about the people in the room, but the people like BFM and Rude Boy and Dr. Poggers. He's talking about corralling them. And he's continuing to twirl the cigarette and says, the extended guest list that I curated was 75 persons when I curated it. And he takes the cigarette and holds it by the filter again and puts it right back into his mouth and takes a very, very slight puff on it, and all of the ashes just fall directly onto the carpet. And he moves his foot over and kind of squishes it with his heel. When I got here today, I noticed the guest list had extended. I don't know who did it. And he turns to look at you. Do you know who did it?
Well, if I look like a hacker, then geez. No, I don't.
He nods. You're not a hacker. I know a hacker. You don't look like a hacker. And he reaches down to the glass, picks it back up, and takes another sip. And he's examining the swirling alcohol inside the slightly melted ice in the glass and says, what is it you want?
Who says I want anything? Besides what any other person wants.
Shrugs.
To have fun, money, power, anything. Anything and everything. I don't really care. I just want to live life. I'll cheer and I'll drink to that. She just smiles, taking a sip.
Roll me another manipulation check.
Absolutely.
You cheers to that, and he holds the drink out and clinks it to yours and nods. And he just lets the silence hang for as long as possible. And he'll swirl the drink and sip it slowly. He is going to sit in this silence unless you break it. And just let it fucking hang.
I'm in it for the long con. I can wait.
Okay. What is your cool defense?
My cool defense is 13.
Oh, you beat him by 1. You beat him by 1. So you guys both sit there, and it's like 1 minute passes in silence, and then 2, and then 3, and it's just this weird, tense, like just air thick with tension silence. And then after like 6 minutes of just like painstakingly just emptiness in the social situation, there are other people around you having conversations in the room, and somehow the room seems like dead silent. And after that wait, trying to see. He nods, and he'll take the cigarette and drop it into the drink. Basically remnants of melted ice and liquor, now mixing with a burnt cigarette. And he doesn't look over at you, but addresses you from like a side glance and says, I think I can help you if you're interested in fame.
I'm listening.
He reaches into his shirt pocket and he pulls out not the ID card, a little like cell phone looking device. It's very small, and it fits like it's probably about slightly smaller than a credit card. And he turns it over, and you can see that it is like a very, very small holographic device. You would recognize it. This is a very like sleek, new, expensive version of a shard card. There's some that have this aesthetic, but they're not that sleek and slim and easily carried and concealable. This is some like mega expensive proprietary type of shit. And like the light hits it a little bit. The matte black card on the backside, you can see the Tetsuo logo embossed on it. And he flips around, like, is basically using it similar to a cell phone, but he taps it and starts to thumb around on it like you would your phone. And you can see his eyes are lighting up. And after a second, he stops, and his eyes stop lighting up, and he puts the shard card back into his pocket, and looks over at you, reaches down at the glass, and swirls it, looks at it, and just goes, I have someone who might be able to meet with us, if you're willing, if you have time.
Oh, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have time.
He nods real slowly. Good. And he'll stand up and start to walk towards the elevator.
Hello.
Excuse me.
I will follow him.
Yeah. So, you both walk towards the elevator. As you reach the elevator, he pulls out the ID card. The ID card just literally has the number 7 printed in like a particular typeface. And he walks up, holds it to a seemingly like empty part of the elevator. Like it just looks like a spot of clear wall. And when he holds it there, after like a half second, there is a soft like, and then all of the buttons on the elevator go dark except for the 7th floor button. And he clicks it, and without looking at you, reaches back up, places the card back in his shirt pocket, and pulls out another packet, or his not another packet, but his packet of cigarettes, and pops another one out and offers it to you and says, "Would you like?"
Oh, far be it from me to turn down generosity.
nods, and if after you take one, he puts it right back in his pocket, grabs his gold lighter, and lights it, and it's very. It's a seemingly long elevator ride, but after a few minutes, it opens up, and you are greeted with a long, what appears to be like. It looks similar to the surface level club, but it has a unusual color inversion. The surfaces are, rather than like a dark and neon mix, it is predominantly white. Almost like that Matrix room where they are in like a just blank white void. In this room, you can see that there are black panels on the sides of the wall. This would make a great sensory deprivation room because there's no furniture. There's seemingly nothing here except the empty like featureless walls, and then the white ceiling and floor. But standing on the opposite end of the room, you see Dio, very openly, just hanging out there, hands behind his back. He is wearing a black suit with a white tie, his traditional, like, shit-eating grin, and he walks over very, very excitedly. He looks like it's also weird because he's wearing, like, black gloves. And you can see his eyes have that golden cybernetic shimmer. And he he walks over and, like, very excited. He's like, "Oh, Krishnov. Can I call you Chris? I'm so thankful for all the work that you do. And I really appreciate you introducing me to this new client. I believe you said your name was Vera."
Yeah, that's right.
He holds out a
Smile.
hand.
Shakes it.
Strong grip. He, like, looks up to Krishnov and smiles at him and, like, nods his head towards the elevator. And Krishnov nods and turns around and starts walking towards the elevator. Like, now you are alone with Dio in this basically void chamber. And he just, like, as soon as the elevator closes, it is maximum disorientation. You don't know what, like, if you spun around too fast, you wouldn't be able to see or tell what wall had the elevator on it and what wall didn't. But Dio, like, almost in a hills are alive gesture, opens his arms up broadly and gestures to the room as a whole, and he says, "Do you not love this redesigned pyramid?"
It's
I
definitely
think
a
it's
lot
great.
brighter. Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot livelier than it was last time.
He nods. It is going to rake in so much more attention, and just, I think it'll really make everything more welcoming and trustworthy, just on the whole, of Grant Cross. I'm honestly thinking about converting this entire area into a second private studio.
A studio. I guess I can see that. It would need to be a little less pitch black.
He nods, looks around, and just goes, "Well, yeah, but again, it's not really built to be a studio right now. And he'll take 1 or 2 steps back and put his hands on his hips and just look at you. So, who are you, Vera St. Clair?
Well, I'm a model. I'm a model, and I'm also trying to get my own clothing line going.
You see his eyes like flash. There is that is the recognizable flash of like rapid fire searching and looking and information gathering. And he nods, and it's this kind of like half-cocked grin. He goes, okay, cool. So, what are you looking to get famous for? Sounds like you already got it.
Oh, right now I only have a bit gig. It's gonna be impossible to get my name out from under those stuffed shirts.
He nods. And he starts to walk like in a circle, almost like in a predatory way, kind of keeping you in the center as he walks around. Go on. Why don't you elaborate on your mission? What you hope to achieve with fame or infamy, or whatever you want.
Well, that's exactly what I want. Whatever I want.
Well, yes. What comes after that? That was something that I was in the same headspace with not long ago. And it all came out from under. Because fame is just name recognition. It doesn't do anything on its own. You have to have a step past that. I mean, you can get famous for fucking too many dudes in one day if you really wanted to. I already have a successful television show. I already had a successful podcast. Roll a cool check.
Okay.
You see his eye twitch at the mention of his podcast. I am a household name now. So now what, right? Like, what do you do after you can go to any random schmuck's house and you're just immediately known? Everyone knows who you are. You don't have to introduce yourself. No, hi, I'm Dio, host of the show. But like, it's better than movie stardom too, for the record. It's broader than that.
I would think the next step after getting your fame is to make sure that your mark is left forever, correct?
He points a finger at you in like a congratulatory, like, you got it. That is exactly it. Claps his hands together to punctuate the words. It's not fucking useful to get a bunch of attention and then just kick the bucket tomorrow. And then you're what? Fucking nobody? Some corpse in a gutter? One of those many. You can see another like twitch at the corner of his mouth. One of those many people, one of the many people out in Adam's ward who just kill and rape and pillage their way through life. And then you end up in a gutter. Oops. Now nobody knows who you are. And then you die. And then your legacy dies, and that's it. World moves on. That's not fun news. Do you know how many people had TV shows before I had a TV show? Millions.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking millions. So what good is fame? I don't even know who was on the first TV network. Because it didn't matter. But that's what I mean. If you want to get famous, well, you're almost done. But what do you want after that? He is really really closely inspecting you with his eyes.
Give me a minute.
Also,
Hard
at
to
any
role play as somebody role playing as somebody.
Also, at any point, you can ask if you want to quote unquote insight check him or figure out.
I
try
would
to
like to
social
check
roll.
him now. Yeah.
So, are you trying to gauge
A sense of his ambition.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll a social roll, and you won't. I don't think you get the manipulation, but you can get the kimono, unless the kimono is specifically manipulation.
And I do have a
can't-
specialty in a kimono, so I would get an extra +1 for that. Hooray! Boo!
Oof. Just his words, you can see that he is so hungry for being recognized, being wanted. He is the most vain type of person. And he is trying to gauge where
Am
you're
I
at.
listed?
Can you handle being
Yeah.
popular and famous and influential?
Well, let's see. After I got that fame, I would want to make sure that it goes down forever. You know, I know some millionaires, they tend to buy hospitals and stuff like that. I think I'd like to go a step further. How does the St. Clair ward sound?
He tilts his head, and there's a bit of something like a spark behind his eyes in that one. You also said last time you have your danger sense, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead and roll cool for that, because that's it'll give you if he intends to harm you or what
I'm not rolling well at all.
specifically. Oh, okay.
I'm not rolling well at all.
Don't forget you have boosts. Prep.
I do.
I will let you retroactively prep that one.
I'll roll it once and spend the prep. I'm trying to figure out what to spend it on because I only have so limited shots. 10. I'll spend the prep for that.
Okay. So he takes another step. You can't get a firm grasp on what he wants, aside from the obvious urge for attention. But you don't think he's going to harm you. It doesn't seem like he intends to hurt or maim you in any way, at least not right now. But you're not sure what he wants. But he takes another step forward. So, St. Clair's. Okay. And then what? What happens after you get away? And he
Soar
shrug-
higher
like,
and higher, I would assume.
he shrugs and he just goes, yeah, no, think about it, right? You get a monument named after yourself, get a statue, they pick a fucking calendar day out of the year and dedicate it to you. And eventually, things change, systems change, monuments fall, somebody digs some shit you fucking set up on Twitter a few years ago, and oops, you're canceled, and then what? And then everyone moves on. And he nods, like, almost as if to say, like, you agree with me, right? And he...
You can see me following along.
And he goes, so, again, where does it end? You can do as much as you want in this one little pissant lifetime. Even with good medical tech, you're what? 120? You look like a fucked up raisin with a bunch of wires coming out of your brain? And he, like, gets a look of disgust on his face and he just goes, nobody wants that. And if they tell you they do, they're lying through their teeth. No, everyone wants this. And he gestures, like, takes two hands and places them onto his own chest. They want to be young and famous and powerful and rich. That's what everybody wants. But there's always one little bit that they don't realize they want because nobody thinks it's, like, doable. And he takes one step forward and he kind of, because he's quite tall.
Yeah, I'm sure he towers over me.
So he kind of he bends over a little bit and he just goes, I don't want to say it. Because if I say it, and he points a finger to his head, you'll tell me what I want to hear. And I don't like being lied to. I want you to tell me what it is. And if you can tell me what it is, and he takes a step back and opens his hands in this big, like, work together. We can figure some shit out. But I need you to tell me what it is. The thing that everyone forgets about after all the achievements in their life are caked up to dust and shot out the back of the window.
So,
if you want to...
Yeah, I don't know what I'm searching for here.
Yeah, so you can roll... I will let you roll a cool for it, and I will give you advantage.
Okay.
So, you remember the conversation that you had with Krishnov earlier. And you remember what led up right to that conversation, just beforehand. Something about a merger. And there's a reason there's all these entertainment people being pulled in. So you immediately put together that Tetsuo's merging with some type of entertainment company. It's acquired them. That's why Joseph Diego, showed up on Dio's talk show. So you put that together. And then you're reminded of a conversation that led somewhere unfortunate and sad. You remember a conversation that you overheard in a hotel between Lindis and Joseph Diego about making something that lasts. About like the next step beyond just typical human living and the ephemeral nature of life, where you wake up, grow old, die, repeat ad nauseum.
Mhm.
Dio is fishing for you to say immortality, because that's what he is. That's the only thing that can make your legacy last, is if you're there to rebuild it every time.
That was more or less what I was starting to think. Thinking how to word it. I suppose the best way for your fame to last would be to make sure it lasts. Either by altering the very essence of humanity, or something even higher, probably.
He's like, he does, as you were talking, he does the like hand over hand, like go on gesture, and he just goes, and he has like, he turns his palms face up and like kind of does the like gesture, like one more, come on, just one more. You're so close. Just say it.
I
Just say
guess
the
the
thing.
easiest way to do it would be to make sure you stick around for it.
And he leans back and just goes, which is
To keep living?
and he claps his hands together and like opens his hands into this big like hug almost gesture, and he doesn't actually hug you, but he opens his hands up out really wide and he just goes, live forever, right? That's the only way you get to be relevant. None of this shit matters if you die. And I knew you would understand. And he like points really aggressively, like almost in a self-celebratory gesture, like the same sort of excitement that a fan gets when their team scores a touchdown. He's just like, I fucking knew you would get it. And do you want to know how I knew? And he points to like his head.
By all means, please tell me.
He points to a wall. Like, to you, it just looks like one of the other 4 walls, but he points to it and he just goes, because Krishnov said you were a liar. He said that you were hiding something, that you snuck in here, and you cheated your way into the club. You weren't on the list. And he was afraid of you. And he takes a step back, almost like, boom, that proves my point. And he gestures to the elevator door and he just goes, that man is a fucking coward. And that's why, and he holds up his left arm and just like shakes it, like his open hand, and just goes, that's why he lost one of these. And that's why he's gonna end up in a gutter. And no one's gonna remember his fucking name. I don't even remember his first name. I couldn't spell it if you asked me to. Some fucking Slavic shit. Sounds like you're hawking up with Loogie. No. Nobody cares about him. He's a nobody. And he was afraid of you. So he came to me because he thought that I would, what, like rat you out? Fuck. Sell you out to someone? No. No, you know what's going on because you came here. Right? You came here looking for something. None of the people who we invited, no. What a bunch of pop star wannabes. Fucking weirdo porn star streamer dipshits. No, you just whoever you are and wherever you came from, I don't give a shit. I don't even give a shit if Vera whatever is your real name. Okay? Because you had the drive to come here. And I know that you have the drive to do this. And he gestures like outwards. So, and he holds a hand out to you. He just goes, "Are you in?"
Well, it seems I was found out. And she kind of just shrugs and then shakes his hand.
He nods and just goes, and he like puts his other hand around yours and just goes, "Don't worry about Krishnov. He's taken care of." He likes to think that he's in control of shit. No. No, again, he's just a fucking nobody. I'll show you who's in control of shit. And he turns around to the opposite wall, the wall far on the opposite end of where the elevator would be. And he gestures to it, and the screen lights up. And on the screen, you see two people. You see Joseph Diego sitting in his chair, a large reclining chair on a desk. He's not in the Black Pyramid. This is obviously a video stream. And he, not expecting a video call, raises his eyebrow and then turns around and sees Dio. And just goes, Mr. Riles, is there a reason you're calling me? And Dio just holds out a finger and points to you and just goes, I found another candidate. She's clearly interested, augmented all to hell, and she knows about everything. But, and he holds his fingers out in like a pause gesture. He goes, but, walks behind you. She came from Krishnov. Like, almost like an excited kid. Like, look what I found. And kind of like pats you on the shoulders and just goes, this is the man of the hour. Really. What else can be said? And he gestures to Joseph Diego, who looks at you with just total disinterest. Roll a cool check.
I'm gonna boost this for a reason. Did it roll?
Perfect.
It did. Okay.
So, you are staring into the digital face of one of the most hated people you have ever, one of the most vile people you have ever had the misfortune of running into. And you know that just by looking at his face, he doesn't know who you are, but he could not care less.
Mm-hmm.
This is the face of someone who is well on their way to some thing. And he just looks at you with total disinterest. And his eyes look back up to Dio. And he raises an eyebrow and says, Mr. Riles, I would appreciate it if you could keep our machinations quiet. We don't need to recruit every single person who's interested. And Dio like again straightens up and he goes, "Oh, I have a sixth sense about this, sir. I promise you. You trusted me. You trusted me. You brought me back from the grave of whatever fucking cesspit you found me in. If I wasn't sure, I wouldn't be here. But she's a famous fashion designer or whatever. Whatever, it doesn't matter. She's got connections. She's got clout. She's got grit. Showed up Gronick. And she'll mesh perfectly with the crew." And he gestures to Joseph Diego and he's like, "You will be the face of this operation, and it will be us who helps you. You've got me, obviously," and he gestures to you. "You have someone to make us look the part, who we can tout around, and you have the other one, whose name I forget, but she's also like me." And Joseph just his eyebrow goes down and his brow line darkens. And he just says, "Mr. Riles, please don't do this again." And his eyes look towards you, Neon. And he narrows his eyes. "Do you watch the news at all, Miss St. Clair?"
Occasionally.
"So you're aware of the terrorist attack that happened a few weeks ago?"
It was all over every station possible. How could I not?
"You'd be surprised how many people walk around the station. But I'll let you in on some good news." And his eyes look up to something off screen. And the screen pans around, and you can see on the opposite side of the camera, in his office, there is a girl who looks much more bright and colorful than the surroundings would make sense for her in. She's very out of place. She's wearing a purple and black, almost kind of gothic Lolita style dress with boots. Her hair is bright pink and twisted.
Yeah, just
into
say
curly
it's a
pigtails.
show. Let's just get it over with.
And she's sitting on a gigantic easy chair similar to Joseph Diego's. And she just waves at the camera. And it is obviously Lindis Grace, the streamer, VTuber extraordinaire. And that is where we will end the session.
Hey, baby.